Just chill. Chill, Finnegan. Chill. Breaking news. I'm just saying offline. Breaking news. We're going to talk about. We offline still there? Are we live? We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Wife's live stream begins 12 p.m. Eastern time, and yet Rumble is still not live. Rumble, starting to get on my nerves, man. Making this more difficult than it needs to be. We'll figure it out. If I can't get the Rumble stuff going live anymore, we might have to disenfranchise ourselves with the Rumble because on live streams. I'm not convinced Rumble. There we go. All right, sweet. Hey, there you go. Sweet. All right, cool. All right, right on, man. Right on. All right, so we had a long live stream last night, so we're not going to have a huge live stream today, but I want to keep the schedule Wednesday at noon. That's my goal, is to keep the schedule. You know, I do like following schedules. I think it's important. It's important for my sanity, frankly, and it's important for people to get recognized. Hey, Wednesday at noon, Josh is doing live stream. But we did a long live stream with Craig Israelson yesterday, last night. And Craig was only on for an hour. And then we chatted for about an hour and a half after that. Wife's out of town. She's coming back tomorrow. So I got to do some cleaning around this house, dude. So I'm going to start scrubbing the shower. Hey! I was already out there working on the deck. I'm going to clean the coils on the AC units. I'm going to scrub the shower. What are you growling at, big boy? What? What's up, Michael? And so got lots to do around Shay Scanlin. So lots to do. And what? Hold on a second. What is out there that's making you growl? What's going on? What's going on? There's nothing there. Ben, there's literally nothing there. No, there's nothing there, baby. Oh, Finnegan, chill. But all right, so just going back to the Craig Israelson thing, I'll show you his website. So here's his website. Let me bring it up here. And if you're interested in his software package that he has, just reach out to Craig via here, 712portfolio.com, hit contact. And just email. Say, hey, Craig, as you know, I saw you on the Josh podcast thing or a YouTube channel. Hey, Carson, right on. Good. That's one of the reasons I do like having Rumble. It's like Carson's on here, my man, Jeremy's on here. Got a bunch of mainstream people on Rumble I like. So I want to keep Rumble. It's kind of a hassle sometimes with Rumble because you got to set up the stream and all that. It's not that difficult, but it's hard to do just kind of on the fly. Anyway. So here's Craig Israelson's stuff. You just email him, man. You just say, hey, Craig, this is your old buddy, Michael. Hit contact. And let's see here. And you just email him, say, hey, I saw you live stream with Josh. I'd like to take advantage of the offer right here for your software for a 50% discount. And I don't get paid. I'm not working like an affiliate with Craig or anything like that. I don't get paid. I'm not getting paid or anything like that. So, I mean, probably. We have 8 new baby chicks that just hatched. So right on, Carson. On Rumble, Carson saying they got 8 new baby chicks that just hatched. That's fantastic. So I'll just put the link in the show notes here for Craig's stuff. So just email him, say, like access to it. He'll give you half off. So that's he normally charges $200. It'll be $100. Then the renewal is be $50 off that as well. So $50 a year after that if you want. I do the freaking the spreadsheet stuff that he had. It was without question some of the best I've ever seen. I was like, and I haven't messed with it, and I can't wait because I'm gonna do freaking buku amount of videos on that. It's gonna be great. Part 2, if you want a signed book, any of my signed books from me, actually, I got a whole bunch of them. Any signed book, just send me an email. I'll send you a PayPal for 20 smackaroonies. And I'll send you any of my signed books. $20 per book. Got to make somewhat of a profit for my time and my John Hancock. But just if you want a signed book, just send me an email. I'll send you a $20 PayPal. Once I get your PayPal in, I'll I'll send off the book to you, and I'll sign by John Hancock. So if you want a copy of that, just let me know. Just send me the email on that. So gotta sell, baby. Gotta be selling, always be selling. Like what's that? Glenn? What's that? Glenn? What the hell's that movie? Glenn something? You know what I'm talking about? Is a movie Glenn Gurney, or I can't remember what it's called. All right, let's see what else I want to talk about. All right, that's good. All right, so I want to go into the. Like I said, I'm not gonna be on here too long. I had a guy email me today, and it actually kind of ticked me off, dude. All right, I'm not gonna lie to you. He's like, Josh, all these like guys like, oh, I got you, Josh, I got you. You know, I know you talk kindly about reverse mortgages, but check this out. I'll show you the article. I was like, dude, are people? It's like it's passive aggressive, but they got to get you. But I'm like, do you actually think? Do people actually think? And I don't think they do. I think they're just so desperate to prove their intellectual superiority, if that makes sense, on something they literally don't understand. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I used to get this during the depths of the COVID crap. Oh, how about this article about the safe and effective, the efficacy and all this? I was like, did you even read it? Yeah, no. Did you even look into it? And by and large, did you even read what Pfizer came up with when they showed how safe and effective was? No, I just I just listen to Fauci. Okay. I used to get that all the time, dude. All the time. People say, oh, here's another article that says how safe and effective it is and the efficacy and all this. I said, okay, that's fine. That's an article. Did you actually read the Pfizer thing? No. And on top of that, do you even trust what Pfizer reports? I mean, look, you can. I don't care. I don't. That doesn't mean they're evil. Doesn't mean if you work for Pfizer, you're bad. I'm drinking a Waterloo sparkling ice pineapple. No sugar, no aspartame. I got them at Bogus Carson from Publix. No, just basically just sparkling water with a hint of pineapple taste, and it is good. I love these things, man. So I used to drink a lot of sparkling ices, with aspartame, I think. I said I just want to go. I like the not carbohydrates, the carbonation. You know what I'm saying? So I like having the carbonation, but I love pineapple. So every now and again you'll get stuff like this on BOGOs at Publix. Buy one get one, and man, I loaded up. I got 2 12-packs of this. Hey, what's up, Scott? All right, so here's Scott. Let's see what kind of arrow Scott slings at me, huh? Just anyway, so I got these BOGOs, and I've loaded up. I got 2 12-packs of 16 packs, 2 12-packs of this and 2 12-packs of berries. Oh, it's good, man. It's good stuff. BOGOs. If you don't have a Publix, you're wrong. Publix is not cheap, but when you get BOGOs, man, you can go to work. All right, so anyway, so this guy emails me, very passively aggressive. I know you talk kindly about reverse mortgages, but here's an article you might want to share. I said, oh, really? Okay, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this reverse mortgage article that proves once and for all that reverse mortgages are scams. Scams, I tell you. Hey, what's up, Adam? Look at Adam out there crushing. Adam. So he sent me this article. Reverse mortgage company starts foreclosure after elderly Florida homeowner ignores mail. Borrower says she didn't recognize the name of her new loan servicer. All right. And what's the date line on this here? May 9th. And Brooksville, Hernando County senior citizen nearly lost her home after ignoring mail from a company whose name she didn't recognize. She told Action I-Team how it happened in a warning for other reverse mortgage borrowers. So the issue is reverse mortgage people, they don't spend enough money on advertising on media. That's why, look, we know for a fact, you might not remember what I do. So basically it's a GM or something like that. They would not pay for advertising on NBC News or something like that. So then NBC News completely created a thing where GM pickup trucks are blowing up. It was completely fraudulent, completely fake, all because GM wasn't going to pay for the advertising. I can't remember what it was. It was a long time. You think the media is honest? The media is freaking pieces of crap. That's all there is to it. If you're in the media, you're perpetuating an industry that's nothing but freaking pieces of crap. That's all it does, is to turn people against each other without question, and to scare people. So if you want good coverage in the media, i.e., sponsored by Pfizer, you gotta pay. You see what I'm saying? Now the funny thing is, a lot of people say, "Yeah, but Josh, doesn't the media know there's an audience of people who just want fair treatment?" The media doesn't. They don't need. This is the problem that I think a lot of non-conspiracy theorists don't understand. As I used to be, you think there's a market of good, rational media out there, and if I'm a capitalist, I should go after that market. These people don't need the money. It's like God. God doesn't need your money. God wants to see how good of a steward you are with his money. You see what I'm saying? Think about the same thing with the media. The media, they don't need your money because the media isn't run by Anderson Cooper. It's run by these people way up top. And they don't need your money because they can print it. They don't need the money. They can just do whatever they want. They can print it they can print it to their freaking heart's content. They don't need the money. They need the power and the control. All right. And so a lot of people say, man, I can't believe that. Why is the media so leftist? You know, there's because they can be, because they don't need the cash. You think after a while CNN would go bankrupt and be off the air, right? It doesn't matter. They don't need it because the money printing machine comes from up here and it's funding these evildoers and CNN and things of that nature. You see what I'm saying? Now, that's why YouTube bans people, because YouTube says, we'll allow some level of discourse to show that we're not as bad as CNN. But when it comes to real stuff that hits deep, we can't have that, if that makes sense. And because we can't have that, we're going to ban certain things. And you know what I'm talking about. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. So because of that, YouTube and other platforms will allow you to seem like it's somewhat free. Rumble is freer, but I guarantee you Rumble will start cracking down too. Once the advertising people start advertising on Rumble, to say we can't have Owen Benjamin on your channel. We can't have Turtle Boy on your channel, for instance. You know what I'm saying? Because they're two out there. But we can't have Ben Shapiro. You see what I'm saying? That's how it works. Because Ben Shapiro will toe the line for a fact. Get the V, dummy, said Ben Shapiro. Did you know that Ben Shapiro's sister had a miscarriage? Simultaneously, at the same time, something else happened, if you know what I'm saying. Sad. These people are just as sad how much they believe the propaganda. And the people on the right do the same thing. Anyway, so the media now, the reason the reverse mortgage industry is so easy to bash, because obviously they didn't do enough to pay to get good coverage. This is what happened in Microsoft a long time ago. Microsoft was getting bashed all over the place because Bill Gates said, I'm not going to, I'm going to I'm going to fight these guys. I'm not going to play their game where I have to pay them money to get good press coverage. Ultimately, the media won out, and Bill Gates now is the primo benefactor of positive press coverage because he spends buku money on the media. All right, so let's go into it. Let's take a look. So I want to go back because it's just so stupid, man. Actually, if this is I told him, so look, you obviously don't like reverse mortgages, then don't get one. All right, so here's a wonderful memories on our house of Patricia Sisolak. She and her husband and 3 sons constructed the small A-frame back in 1981. The property served as a mini farm where she bred miniature ponies. All right, so the story that we're leading here is a very sympathetic lady here, and then we're going to say the evil reverse mortgage companies who don't advertise. We're going to get them. Of course, the same people will never say the evil other companies who are sponsored by this right here. We're not going to say anything negative about them because they pay the advertising. It's just that simple, man. Reverse mortgage companies don't pay the advertising, so we're going to hammer them home, and we're going to use this person as a semblance of a person that's as a victim. But the big evil companies, they're taking advantage of this lady. Of course, the biggest and the evilest of the companies we'll never report on because that's our bread and butter. All right. Everything in this house we did, there was no work by anybody else but us and the boys. Our hearts were all in it, says the homeowner. I mean, so it has nothing to do with reverse mortgage. It's just telling a narrative. But Patricia's heart was nearly broken in January when she received a foreclosure notice alleging that the property ceased to be the principal residence. So the reverse mortgage is foreclosing because they said, let's just keep reading, because she received a foreclosure saying you are no longer the principal residence. All right. Sometimes I go 5 days without sleeping. I'll be in bed, but I will not fall asleep, she says. When it first happened, we were floored, absolutely floored, because there's no way on earth we ever saw this coming. According to Patricia, and she's a widow, they took out $35,000 reverse mortgage in 2008, which she didn't have to pay back as long as she lives in the house. Which she didn't have to pay back as long as she lives in the house. Since then, the reverse mortgage company has been serviced by 3 different companies, including PHH, which took over her loan last year. And they sent a mail asking her to verify that she still lived in the house. But Patricia didn't respond. Her attorney said the client was confused by the mail. It looked like junk mail. And they'll just put it on their table and not do anything about it. And the next thing happens, there's a knock at the door, there's a process server, and a foreclosure complaint to their house. PHH says Action IT records show there were numerous attempts to contact her by phone, and there was an inspection to verify her occupancy. But the homeowner was unaware of the efforts. I've never spoken to one of them. I've never seen one of them. If she had done nothing about it and let it take its natural course, the sheriff would have shown up and put her out. In 2020, PHH and his parent company were sued by Florida and agreed to pay $11 million to settle claims resulting from alleged improper mortgage servicing practices. 2 women, one in Illinois and one in Virginia, recently settled lawsuits with PHH over reverse mortgage foreclosure. PHH Mortgage dismissed this foreclosure lawsuit after the lady provided an affidavit saying she still lived in the house. Let's see. They didn't fight. They didn't argue. They immediately dismissed their case because she then proved that she's still the principal resident of the house. She said she'll pay closer attention to mail from now on and hope she'll never have to worry about losing her home again. All right. This is the example of people reaching. So I want to show you guys something here. Check this out. Check this out. Let's do something here. So PHH settled for was sued for $11 million. $11 million, mind you. All right, so check this out. Wells Fargo ordered to pay $3.7 billion for illegal activity. Wells Fargo, $3.7 billion for illegal activity. Take a look at Pfizer, shall we? Pfizer fined $2.3 billion for illegal marketing and off-label drug case. Let's do Merck. Let's take a look at Merck. $321 million. That is so freaking stupid. Wow, let's do I don't know, we'll do Fidelity. I'll just do Fidelity. Fine. Let's take a look here. I just literally put on here. I typed in Fidelity find. Fidelity find $8 million for Fidelity. Fidelity paid $28 million. All right. Let's even do Vanguard. Vanguard fine. Let's take a look here. Vanguard fined $6.25 million. Vanguard to pay millions to mutual fund investors hit with big tax. Vanguard, let's see here. The quick story of Vanguard, the 35, right here. The quick story was this. A quick story of the Vanguard and $35 billion fine. Ooh, what's that about? Let's take a look. The quick story of the Vanguard situation and the $35 billion fine. Wow. All right. So that's interesting. So what else can we do? We can look at, let's do Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs. Fine. Let's just take a gander, shall we? Goldman, $2.9 billion. Goldman Sachs. Let's do Capital One. Capital One. Find $390 million. Let's do BlackRock. Find. Let's take a look here. BlackRock faces, let's see, fine. That's in euros, 9.5 million euros. BlackRock fined 15 million by UK. BlackRock to pay 12 million penalty. BlackRock fined 12 million conflict of interest. Ooh, I know what we can do. Let's do Amazon. Amazon fined. Let's do Amazon. 886 million. That's great. Microsoft. Fine. Let's take a look. 500 million euros. The point being, folks, I don't get why. Look, if you want to be anti-reverse mortgage, be my guest. But let me tell you, man, it's idiotic to sit there in these one-offs from some lady who just simply basically didn't return the mail to validate that she's still the primary residence. There is something called personal responsibility that seems to be lacking in the United States. Now, will the reverse mortgage company, can they be scumbags? I guarantee they can. If you don't need to do a reverse mortgage, don't do it. But this freaking insanity of saying, I showed you, Josh, they find $11 million. Dude, you freaking, it's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. So I emailed the guy back and said, holy crap, you're right. This proves that reverse mortgages are scams. I mean, you never want to look at Wells Fargo, Pfizer, Microsoft, Amazon, or Fidelity, Vanguard, all these, the places where you keep your accounts, you probably mail from, you probably got the jabs, all that stuff. Don't look at that, but let's look at this $11 million fine from reverse mortgage companies and insinuate that reverse mortgage companies are scams, where all these other companies are clean as wind-driven snow. Vanguard, my goodness, clean as wind-driven snow. I just get so sick of it. I don't get why there's like these whipping boys that are, it's just like, it's bullying behavior is what it is, bullying. These people are not in the mainstream. For some reason, reverse mortgages aren't looked at as fondly as Wells Fargo taking a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I don't get that. Wells Fargo just paid billions of dollars in fines for being corrupt as the day is long. But yet no one says the banking industry as a whole is corrupt. We all kind of know it is, but we still have banks. We still have brokerage accounts. We still do Amazon. Yet all these fines happen all over the place. There's always one off, my friends. Don't get a reverse mortgage if you don't want to. I don't care. I literally could care less. But to look at this little passive and aggressive bullying tactics, like, oh, Josh, I'm proving you wrong. It freaking pisses me off because it's so weak. It's weak-minded. Because what happens is the company says, hey, are you still the primary resident? You signed a contract. Now, was a salesman? Did he not tell you that? I don't know. But we are big boys and big girls. At some point, we got to put our big boy pants on and say, I signed the dotted line. I need to be held accountable for the mistakes I make. 100%. Mistakes I make was I did not respond back in a timely manner when the company said, are you still the primary resident? And when I did, they got off my back. What else are they supposed to do? Literally, what else are they supposed to do? Because don't forget, this is what pisses me off, guys. If this lady is allowed to have a reverse mortgage on a house that she's no longer the primary residence, what does that mean for the risk pool for the people who are the primary residents and have a reverse mortgage? It means it's riskier because now the PHH is servicing an account that is not the primary residence, which means it's more subject to be to not be maintained, not have the property tax on that, which means PHH would have to foreclose on it. But if they had to take this crappy old house that was just beaten down, copper wire stolen, all that, PHH got to pay for that. How did they pay for that? They charged the remaining people who are in the reverse mortgage pool. It's like insurance fraud. Oh yeah, I lost my wedding ring because I was playing basketball. Oh no, man, it was stolen. USA, hey USA, it was stolen. You should pay me back. When I was at USA, we used to have this all the time, insurance fraud. I lost my wedding ring was stolen when I was on the beach in Cancun. I need a replacement. And USA would say, look, we need to go after fraudulent behavior when it comes to insurance fraud claims because it hurts the whole pool. People like you and I are playing by the rules. We get stuck by these clowns. And yes, this lady, I'm sorry, she's a widow. She's a nice lady. You have a responsibility to engage in the proper practices for which you signed the dotted line. Because if you don't, and PHH now allows you to live in a secondary house and you reverse mortgage on this primary house, you're not going to take care of the secondary home. We know this for a fact. Why do you think they charge you a higher interest rates on non-owner occupied property? You want to know why? Because they know when things go bad, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to not maintain that non-owner occupied property. You're not going to maintain as well as your owner occupied property. The banks know this because it's just common sense. You got a rental up, you got a cabin up there in the foothills of Blue Ridge Mountains, and you got your primary residence here. You go to the cabin, 3 times a year. All of a sudden, things start going bad financially for you. What happens? I'm not going to put a new roof on the cabin because this is why I got focus here. It's just common sense, man. Reverse mortgage in the future, be wise on a vacation rental. You can't take a reverse mortgage on a secondary home. It's got to be your primary residence because of what we're talking about here. Because the risk to the bank is such that, and this is why when it comes to buying properties that are second homes, Investment properties, non-owner occupied. Owner occupied means this is your primary residence. This is your castle. You will take care of your castle. You will pay the bills. You'll do whatever you can, never to be put out of your castle. On a secondary home, though, you're not going to do the same. You're not going to hold it to the same esteem because you don't go there. You don't live there. It's just that simple. At some point, people in America are going to have to come back to recognize that we need to be held accountable for our flaws, and we can't just get awards for participation trophies. At some point, I didn't know the market goes down. I mean, it's mind-boggling. I'll never forget. I will never forget. I was at USA. I had this lady. She was a finance professor, and she was in Bulgaria for some reason. I guess doing some kind of course out there. I'll never forget. The thing that sucks about working these big firms is you just get assigned to people. You know what I'm saying? So Bobby was assigned to her. Bobby quits. Jimmy gets assigned to her. Jimmy quits. I get assigned. I don't know who this lady is. You know what I'm saying? And she called me, and she called USA because she like $1 million for this, and she's paying us to manage her money. And she was screaming bloody murder at me. I was like, lady, I don't know who the hell you are. But I'll never forget that. I said, what's going on? She goes, I was never supposed to lose money in your managed account. I said, you got that on record that someone said that to you? Because no one in the history of mankind would ever say you will never lose money in a managed account. And all our calls are recorded, by the way. So I said, I'm happy to pull the call. I'd love to see the call where the guy said, you will never lose money in a managed account. She said, well, no, I'm not saying he said that, but they made it seem like they're protect the downside. I said, okay, we'll pull the call. Let's see what they say, but they'll protect the downside. I'd be curious, what was your understanding that he said? Well, because she was down like 25%. I was like, I don't even think it was that. It was at the end of 2000, is the middle of 2011, when the market was in May of 2000. Yeah, it was the Q2 2011. Was that when the small caps were getting ranked? I can't remember. There's about Q2 2011, we're getting smoked. About 18% were down, 13, maybe 15%. She was pissed. No, that was the summer 2011. That's what it was. Yeah, it was July, basically a 45-day time from like July 15th to August 31st, 2011. That's what it was. 2015 in May when small caps got killed. So basically a 45-day time in the summer of 2011. Mid-July to late August, or early July to mid-August, I can't remember. But anyway, the markets are down by 18%, and she was pissed. She goes, I never would have paid for you if I knew I could lose money. I said, well, let's pull the call, lady, and we'll see what the guy told you when he said about the managed money, when he sold you on the idea. And she, obviously she was an idiot. And I was like, you're a finance professor. You tell me you think you're not going to lose money. She goes, well, you guys should have gone to cash. I said, no one ever said we're going to do that. That's not how managed money works. We don't predict the market. We keep it allocated and rebalance. That's what we do. Now, we might overweight and underweight. That's called tactical asset allocation, where we say, we think small caps are overvalued. We'll put 5% less in small caps and 5% more in international, some of that. You got strategic and you got tactical allocation, depending on what you think the market's going to do. But no one goes all cash. I said, but if that's what you're told, I'd be happy to pull it, because I knew she was full of crap. So I'd be happy to pull the call. We'll get our people on board, and if they find that you're right, we'll certainly make amends for sure. If you were lied to, we'll certainly have a guy lose his job, frankly, because you can't be lying to people. Because I knew and I also knew who she dealt with beforehand. That guy was right on. So I was like, this is just a clown show. But she could not take responsibility in the idea that she could lose money in the markets, and that a manager was going to keep her from losing money. I said, and she's a finance professor. I said, come on, man. And she blah, 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 blah. I said, look, let's just get you out of it. I don't care. That's another thing too. I said, well, if you don't like it, we'll just pull it in. You can manage it yourself. I literally don't care. I don't like managed money. So, the fact that you're in it, well, that's up to you. You don't have to stay in it though. But if we pull the call and there's no evidence at all, which there won't be, that some guy lied to you, then you have to make a decision. Maybe you overheard maybe you told yourself what you wanted to hear as opposed to what the reality was. Now you can go back to managing your own money. And she's like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, get the hell out of there, clown. Hey, Penelope, you said, why you asked a question on a video, why was that live stream so long? It was informative, man. I'm a talkative guy, Penelope. I'm a talkative guy, and I like interesting people. And Craig is very interesting to me. And that software program he built was superior. It was freaking fantastic. I cannot wait to get my hands on that. It was superior. There's no other way around that, man. I was stunned because he had sent me just kind of a couple screenshots. So I was like, all right, let's kind of run the mill. No, not run the mill. So Chicken Charlie. I have cash out and non-qualified. Do I have to pay a 10% penalty? All right. So not yes. If you're under the age of 59 and a half and it's an annuity, yes, you will have to pay a 10% penalty. Yes, you do. Now, it's a 10% penalty on the amount of earnings you've made, not on your basis, Chicken Charlie. All right, so let me just draw this out. This is a big deal. A lot of people miss this. And trust me, look, but when I'm one of those guys who don't like to be proven wrong, especially if I'm advising people of stuff, if that makes sense. Have I been shown to be wrong on occasion? Yeah, probably once in my whole life. But I don't like to be proven wrong. All right, so with a non-qualified annuity, all right, that means you're putting money in. You're putting $10,000 in, and that's your cost basis. $10,000 you're putting in. All right, now the annuity grows to $15,000. Right, growth, cost basis, cash value. So that's your $15,000 cash value. So you've made $5,000 of interest. Right. Now this is non-qualified, which means you did not get a tax deduction on putting that money in. It's on an IRA. It's a non-qualified annuity. All right. So when you cash this annuity out, unfortunately, with annuities, is LIFO, last in, first out. So unlike like a Roth IRA, we can have access to your contributions without touching your gains. An annuity doesn't work like that. An annuity is LIFO. So the first thing that comes out is your interest. Last in, first out. So when you cash this puppy out, that $5,000 of earnings will be subject to a 10% penalty because you're under the age of 59 and a half, and you got to pay income tax on that. Now, the $10,000 is free and clear because it's just like a Roth contribution. There's after-tax money you put in. There's no penalty on that. I mean, there might be a penalty for the annuity company, but from the IRS, there's no penalty on that. The annuity company might charge a surrender charge, but from the IRS, there's not. There's just a 10% penalty, an IRS penalty, because you're under the age of 59 and a half on your gains. Unfortunately, you can't say, I want specific identification. I want to take my 10,000 basis and leave my 5,000 in there. It doesn't work like that. Just FYI. But actually, this is one of the reasons I tell people when you're doing an annuity, I haven't done this video for a long time. I need to. When you're doing an annuity, you absolutely, without question, want to do it with IRA money, without question. And the reason for that is if you look at the history of variable annuities in particularly, let's just say you put $100,000 into a variable annuity in the year 2000, just for simplicity. All right, you wake up in 2015 and your variable annuity is now worth $166,000. I've literally seen stuff like this before. All right, so now let's take a look at, hold on just a second. We're going to take a look at Portfolio Visualizer. This is literally a case that happened to me with a client. And again, reconfirmed that you want your annuities to be in IRAs. All right, so let's, but you don't get double tax deferral. All right, hear that argument one more time. I'm going to freaking go crazy. No one sells annuities for double tax deferral if it's inside an IRA. No one ever does that. So all these idiots say, you're not getting double tax deferral, Josh. They're freaking idiots, dude. I'm sick of idiots in this business, man. There's too many of them. I don't know if Dave Ramsey did. I don't know who does. But the anti-annuity people, when they say don't put an annuity in an IRA because you're not getting double tax deferral and you're paying for it, it's freaking idiotic. It's stupid. All right, so let me tell you what I'm talking about. So now we start with $100,000 for simplicity in the year 2000. All right, we put $100,000 in the annuity. We put $100,000 in FINX, full index. I just want to give an example of how this would work here. And we're going to go to 2016 for just simply right there. And this might not be exactly the case I want to show. Let's see. I want $100,000 right there. Yeah, this will work nicely. All right. So the S&P 500 is now worth $207,000. All right. So let me just go back to what I'm showing you here. All right. So your annuity has grown. Your variable annuity has grown to 166. do it a little bit different like this. 100,000, 166, 100,000, 207. All right, so your annuity's grown to 166. The S&P 500 is growing to 207. You're like, man, you know what the hell? I thought I was going to get market-like returns like the video I just did about index annuities, and you're not even close. And you're like, oh man, it freaking sucks. In fact, let me see what the bonds. I'm just going to bear with me just one. We're going to go back to Portfolio Visualizer just to give it a gauge here. Back test. Go to that guy right there. We're going to put VBMFX, total bond index. Put it right there. Boink, 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 and crack how. Release the Kraken, Seattle Kraken. All right, so right now the bond index is worth 227. Oh, look at that, man, crazy. The bond index is worth more. Anyway, so the point being is you're sitting there thinking, man, I did a variable annuity thinking I was going to get market-like returns. Not only did I not get stock market-like returns, I even got beaten by the bond market in my variable annuity. So why do you think this happened? Why did you think this happened? Why did the variable annuity right here do worse than the bonds and stocks? Anybody want to take a guess? Anyone want to take a guess? And this, literally, I had cases just like this more often than I can count. So why did the variable annuity so dearly underperform stocks and bonds in just this one sample size? But I'm just using that for example. Let's see what you got. Will I be using Charlie's sheet to help your clients better understand what they should invest during retirement? I don't know who Charlie is. I think she went full hermit mode and didn't look at any mail or taking calls. That or she outright lied. That's right on, Scott. That's 100%. She just look. I don't blame her. I get all that. I get junk mail and whatnot. But what else is the company supposed to do? Fees. Exactly right, Denise. So basically, what happened here is the fees. All right, the fees kept the annuity from growing because a lot of these annuities pay 2 and 3% fees. There's just no other way around that. And so the bonds and the stocks did better than the annuity. All right, so now a guy says, well, I want to move this out because, I'm getting paid fees on top of fees and it's holding me back. And I don't like it. I've had this annuity for 15 years. So I just want to cancel that. I want to put it into a Vanguard mutual fund. Well, the problem with doing that is if it's a non-IRA, that $66,000 is a gain. Anybody want to, so if you get out of that annuity, you got $66,000 of a gain. That's your gain. Anyone want to guess how that's taxed? All right. Is it taxed as a long-term capital gain or is it taxed as ordinary income? Anyone want to take a guess? Anyone want to take a guess? So now you're like, I'm going to sell that annuity. I'm going to put it over to Vanguard S&P 500 or whatever, the bond fund, 50-50, it doesn't matter. How is that $66,000 taxed? Because you cannot, it's taxed as ordinary income, 100%. 100%. So a variable annuity, you've been paying for 15 years, all these fees. It actually grew a little bit, so you had made some money, but it did worse than stocks and bonds by far because of fees you paid. And now you're like, man, I've had this thing for 15 years. I'm out. You're like, okay, I want to put that in a Vanguard fund. You can't just transfer that into a Vanguard fund. You got to cancel the annuity and close it out, which means it's a taxable event to you. And it's not a sale like a long-term capital gain. You're actually literally getting an income on that $66,000 you made. All right, now that's happened more often than I can even, it's insane how much that happens. The only way, there's no other way to avoid this. The only way is you could do what's called 1035 exchange into another annuity, and that will maintain the tax deferral. So you don't have to. It's almost like a 1031 exchange into real estate. You're just prolonging the tax deferral on that $66,000, but you still got to go into another annuity product. You cannot take it from a non-annuity product, an annuity product to a non-annuity product without paying the tax man. That's ordinary income. Not good. Now, if that was an IRA, no problem at all, because it's still under the umbrella of the IRA. So if it's an IRA, just call freaking Transamerica Insurance Company. Hey, sell me out. Why? Because I'm going to transfer it over to Vanguard. All under the auspices of the IRA. There's no 1035 exchange. It's just a trustee to trustee transfer. No big deal. Shows up at Vanguard. No taxes done. No 1099. It will be a 1099 because you're moving from one IRA to another, but it's not a taxable distribution. So now you got the Vanguard. You're like, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? You just got out of the annuity, didn't have to pay taxes as ordinary income for the relinquishing of the annuity. Now, at some point, you're going to pull the money out of the IRA via RMDs or whatnot. You'll have to pay ordinary income tax on that. Distributions from the annuity, from the IRA, that's still taxed as ordinary income. But the nice thing is you're not subject to the ordinary income tax in a non-qualified annuity. Hope that makes sense. It's a big deal. Am I going to use? Why would I use Craig's sheet to help people better invest? I don't understand what you're saying. To help clients better and understand where they should invest during retirement? Why would Craig's sheet? No, dude, I'm not doing that. I mean, basically, at the end of the day, if you got a pretty good portfolio, I'm not telling you to change it. I like CDs, like a nice conservative portfolio, as we've talked about, Sean. We've talked about it. I'm not looking at Craig's numbers to say, hey, you should do this differently. That's not my ball wax. When it comes to investing, that's an individual thing for people, for sure. Talking to a guy today, just this morning, as a matter of fact, and he's like heavy into his, he moved his 401k. He's going to retire here pretty soon. He put into short-term money. He said, man, what do you think? Is that a good idea? I said, dude, absolutely. He was getting 5% on short-term money right now. So you don't have to be there like that for the rest of your life. But when you're stepping off the bridge of retirement, why not? Why not? I'm not going to freaking tell somebody, go to stocks. No, I mean, I am 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I'm not going to tell people to do what I'm not doing. This is the whole thing about investing. It's individual risk. So I'm literally 1/3. And actually, Jill, I don't know if she's on here or not, but she asked me, she emailed me the other day. She goes, are you still 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 after seeing Craig's portfolio? The answer is absolutely. That's me. Stocks, VTI, bonds, FHLB is my 6% Federal Home Loan Bank bond, and cash right now. A third. I'm only 52 years old. I'm not about ready to retire. I actually think there's opportunity in the bond there, in the bond side. I do. I absolutely could be wrong. I don't know. But even if I'm wrong, I'm still getting 3.5%. Well, right now I'm getting 6% on FHLB bonds, but that's a callable bond. I would imagine they probably call that by the end of probably the end of this quarter. It's callable every 3 months starting at 30 June. So I imagine the FHLB, Federal Home Loan Bank, I got 6% Federal Home Loan Bank. I imagine I'll be called at the end of June. So I'll pocket what's that 3% of interest plus I'll get paid. It'll be $50,000. I got how much I got in there? $50,000, $100,000? No, I don't have that much in there. I guess it's not truly a third. I can't remember, but I got a sizable portion in an FHLB bond. I don't have everything in one bond, but I got a sizable portion of my investments in FHLB bond. And I don't think you should do that, frankly. Having one security as that big of a position is kind of scary. In this case, I'm not that worried about because I am getting 6%. It is the Federal Home Loan Bank, and that's pretty secure, man. If that thing goes kaput, we're all screwed anyway. It's a callable bond, so June 30th, they'll probably call it. They'll give me my $50,000. I think I got a $50,000 in there. I do. They'll give me $50,000, and then my 3% interest for half a year. And if they don't call it, I'll keep going. Every quarter they have a chance to call that from me, and we'll see. The 10-year Treasury, I think, is still hovering around 3.5 right now. Let's double check. 3 point. Oh yeah, market's booming. See, this is why you gotta have a third. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. But like the market now is coming back strong today, which is good. I like the markets going up, but the 10-year is still about 3.5, still hovering at 3.5. Yeah, 1%. And the 30-year is 30-year's gone up now. It's almost approaching 4%. That's pretty interesting. The 30-year. Look at that. We're seeing a pretty big rise on the 30-year from down here to up there. That tells me the federal government is not buying the bonds that much anymore, that they're selling bonds. And that's the concern I got, man. That's the concern I got. When the federal government is selling, if they're the biggest shareholder, and they're not only not buying, but they're selling, all right, anytime you have more of a supply, what does that do to price? All right, so let's talk basic economics here. If supply increases, What does that do to price? Price decreases. More supply, lower the price. What does that do to yields? Yields increase. So seeing that right there tells me the federal government, I don't know this to be true. I mean, we know that the federal government is ramping back M2 money printing. We know that for a fact. The most they've done since 1930 or something like that. We also know that they're not buying up as many bonds. I think they're probably selling. So that right there tells me that the federal government is reducing their bond holdings. All right. So that right there, that jump right there. So they're selling their bonds, putting more out in the market, which means an increase in supply in bonds, which makes a decrease in the price and an increase in the yields. And that could keep going on. I don't know, man. I don't know. And if that keeps going on, then my 6% FHLB bond won't be called. We will see. That's the thing I have about the third, because when you have the inverted yield curve the way it is, we got 5 1/4 up here for the short-term money, and we got 3.5 for the 10-year money. That's an inverted yield curve like we've never seen before, and it's been like this for a while now. We're not just talking about a couple of days or a couple of weeks. We're talking about months on end. We've never seen an inverted yield curve like this ever. And so what you do is you take the difference between this right here and that right here, 5.25 minus 3.5, divide that's 1.75, divide by this right here. That's a 50% inversion. 50% inversion. 1982 wasn't like that. Whatever the other inverted yield curves, it wasn't 50% inversion. That's insanity. Insanity. So if the feds are getting out of the business of buying up bonds and they're issuing less bonds, in theory, I don't know that to be true, because they still got to fund operations. Let's see, Carson, we did 1031 on a condo and avoid capital gains tax. We only had 90 days to sell and purchase property. Same on a 1035 is just it's a in-kind exchange. In-kind exchange. It's an exchange from an annuity to another annuity. It has to be done simultaneously. If that makes sense. You don't get a 90-day window. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. I've never done it like that. I presumably, I guess in a way, they could send you a check, the insurance company, and then you can go find another insurance company to invest it in. I've never heard that. I don't know that to be true, but I guess that probably could happen. I mean, that's what an indirect rollover is, by the way, from an IRA or 401k. An indirect rollover, the provider is just literally sending you a check. You have 60 days in which to take that check and deposit into another IRA before paying the taxes and the penalties. So maybe the insurance company can allow that too. Either way, though, you're stuck with the insurance company, like a 1031 exchange. Either way, you're stuck with real estate, if that makes sense. So, we don't want to be stuck in insurance company products if we can avoid it. That's where I'm going with that. Anyway, so when you see those inverted yield curves like this, that would tell me that something's got to give. Now, the something's got to give, as I say a million times, will be this guy going up right there, significantly, and maybe simultaneously this guy going down at the same time. I don't know, man. I don't know. All I know is I want to be on all sides of the occasion protected in any way I can. I want to make sure I take advantage of stocks growth if they happen. I want to make sure I take advantage of stocks getting smoked if that happens by having cash. And I can, at the same time, be rewarded quite nicely for bonds right now. So it's just a good place to be, man. I like it. And people say, well, stocks for the long run. Let me show you something. I wanted to point this out here. I was working on this today before I got backtracked. I want to show you. So this right here is we look at the S&P 500 versus the total bond index. And we're going to say from 2000 to 2016. All right, so the total bond index is in the red. So literally, this is stocks for the long run. I mean, how much long do you have to be? The total bond index actually outperformed the stocks by $20,000 on a $100,000 account. So that's a 20% increase from 2000 to 2016 in bonds over stocks, man. I mean, now you can say, okay, but Josh, look at now. That's 15 years. That's not a long run. It seems to me it is. So we can say, look at that compared to now. We'll go to 2023. So from the year 2000 to 2023, let's take a look. All right. So from right there, so now stocks are at 423, bonds are at 241. Right? The crossover time was right there, 2017. So let's look at the last 5 years, 2017. And you're going to say, watch this. Boink. 2017. Stocks, bonds are actually down. I guess, no, they're not. They're at 106. Stocks decimated the bonds since 2017. Look at that. Compounded annual growth rate, 12.16% in stocks, 1.03 in bonds. Kind of going back to what I said from 1946 to 1968, the stocks averaged 14% a year and bonds average about 2. That is the dwarfing of the stocks over the bonds that you can, as long as you use that time frame, you will forever show that stocks outperform bonds if you use a 1946 and 1968 time frame. And I got that from Ed McQuarrie. I had never known that. And I've read Jeremy Siegel's book, Stocks Long Run. So I'm pretty familiar with it, but no one ever talked about that until I read Ed's article. And the interesting thing was I read that article in 2019, and even then I didn't catch me. I was weird, man. I was like, wait, I've read this. How come it stick out to me back then? Anyway, the point being is this kind of outperformance right here is why you have to have some stocks. I mean, look at this. You got to have some stocks, but to anticipate that or expect that on a regular basis is crazy talk. You can do whatever you want, but I'm just sitting there thinking, do you really think stocks are going to outperform bonds that much? I don't, especially because we had such a big run. What was a run based on? Was it based on earnings growth? No. Was it based on dividends? No. Based on PE appreciation for sure, but a lot of deficit spending, man. Without question. Can that keep up? Right now, our deficit spending is like 6% of GDP. Who knows if that can keep up? I don't know. But those days, in my opinion, are probably gone in terms of the outperformance of stocks over the last 5 years. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll be another 20 years of stocks outperform bonds like what happened in 1946 and 1968. I'm not banking on it, though. I'm going to show you guys something. Check this out. This will be like, you get a kick out of this. Again, this is all the stuff I'm working on my investment basic 101 course I'm going to do. And I really want this course to be for the layperson. Have 300K in CD will mature in November, give us a 15% cash, 100%, give us 15,000 cash, 100% Carson. Like I was saying, I think I said last night, working with a guy, he had 200,000 in cash, not paying him crap. I said, dude, you got a 4% bank CD, just go ahead and put it in the bank. You're getting $8,000. That paid, more than my fee. So just tell him that I earned my fee right there. You know what I'm saying? And he did. He's like, he just emailed me this morning, said I did it. So good for you. All right, so check this out. I want to show you guys this. This is pretty cool. Oh, that's what I was saying. So for my how dare you call Denise attractive? She's already taken Penelope. That's attractive, Denise. That's Penelope. Denise is already married. Jeez Louise. Oh my goodness, we got Ed Scott here. Ed Scott, get it, Ed Slot. That's a good deal, Denise. You're very attractive. And look, even Ed Scott is saying, yep, you're diverse too. Anyway, yeah, see, that's the problem. These 5%, but that's only 5 months. That's the problem. You were getting two-year CDs. Denise actually did it. Would you guys like for Denise to be interviewed on my channel? By the way, Denise sent me some stuff that is just let's put it this way. If Denise should have been a reporter in a previous century, you know what I'm saying? She got the bottom of the Rockefeller clan, and how scumbags those guys were. She would have been out there on the Colorado mines and recognizing when John D. Rockefeller Jr.'s had his sheriffs killing all these innocent minors and innocent women and children because they were protesting slave wages. Denise would have been out there freaking sleuthing and saying, hey, what are you guys doing, John D. Rockefeller Jr.? Why are you killing these innocent people? Because they're protesting slave labor prices and wages and things like that. Yeah, interesting. And who did that? Oh, yeah, the sheriff's department. Because John D. Rockefeller owned the local authorities. Isn't that interesting? And and this is where I look, when we say anti-union, there's a reason why unions came on so strong, because they were literally being decimated by the local authorities and union busters and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Now, am I pro-union? No. Am I anti-union? No. I'm not either. I used to be very pro-union growing up because I was raised by hippie liberals, and then I was anti-union in my big libertarian days. And now I'm just like, I get it though. I get it because John D. Rockefeller Jr. literally had people murdered, innocent women and children who were married to union miners in Colorado. Weird how that just got swept under in the history books. Oh, and guess what happened the same time that happened? Just literally magically in 2 years, the Rockefeller Foundation came on. And guess what they started doing? They started buying good press, just like Pfizer, sponsored by Pfizer, and just like Bill Gates and Microsoft. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, after the murdering rampage of John D. Rockefeller's clan, innocent women and children and minors, all of a sudden they said, yeah, that's probably bad press. So let's and make a Rockefeller Foundation. It will flood the media with stuff just saying how great the Rockefellers actually are. Is only the rich get to do that. And then do we have any negative stuff on Rockefellers ever since? Not really. Not really. In fact, the Rockefellers own the previously named Palestinian Museum of History in Israel. Rockefellers now called the Rockefeller Museum of History. The Rockefellers and Rothschilds are joined at the hip to control the world. And if you think that's crazy talk, I got nothing for you. It's crazy. You think about yourself. What is that lady named? Dave Rothschild. I forgot. Anna Day Rothschild or something like that. She was partnering with the World Economic Forum just recently, as a matter of fact. And the Rockefeller Foundation, scumbags, each and every one of them, the whole thing. And there's a Rockefeller University, Council for Foreign Relations. Come on, man. Come on. Wake up, my friends. Run by scumbags. But these are the rich capitalists. Are they really capitalists? Was John D. a capitalist? By the way, who was John D's dad? You want to take a guess? He was literally a snake oil salesman. Yeah. John D's dad was literally a snake oil salesman. And yet somehow John D became the richest guy since King Solomon. Yeah, that's weird. It's almost a lot of similarities between old Bill Gates. You know what I'm saying? Because Bill Gates was, how did he just become so wealthy? By Lotus, whatever it was that he stole from these people and stuff, and started bashing people that you will follow what we say or else you're going to lose. Nice business you have there. It'd be a shame for it to be broken by Bill Gates' thugs. Kind of interesting how these kind of things mimic each other. I think Bill Gates is that bright of a guy. Come on. You think he wasn't selected? You think Elon Musk? I mean, come on. People actually, you think Elon Musk, come on. He's such a clown. He's totally cabal. He runs Tesla, stupid SpaceX, stupid Twitter. I mean, come on. He's on Twitter freaking going smoking dope with Joe Rogan and stuff, wearing a cowboy hat. Elon Musk is a brilliant genius who's going to save us from freaking environmental degradation. Come on. Actually, you don't hear about the modern Rockefellers. You don't hear about them because they're friggin' behind the scenes, dude. The Rockefeller Foundation is evil, and I'm telling you, man. But but the Republicans now, anytime they get stick up their butt, they'll say, "Yeah, maybe we should look at going after some of these rich tycoons. Maybe we should." And then all of a sudden, they're going to get sponsored by the Rockefellers. And so the Republicans say, all right, I'll back off because I like the money. Rockefellers are freaking not good, dude. John D. Rockefeller's dad was a literal snake oil salesman. Have you looked into the parents of Elon Musk? Come on. People buy hook, line, and sinker. Elon is capitalist. That's it. You're crazy, dude. You don't know what you're talking about, man. How dare you? I look at people by the way they looked at Penelope. That is just wrong on all sorts. I have a really great statement for you. Remember that really great cola that we got every institution's race. What was I doing? Oh, I was going to go to this thing right here. I'll check this out. All right, so we're gonna go back to PE ratios. That's just basic PE ratios. This is not the cape, the Schiller cape. All right. So check this out. All right. So here, and this is pretty interesting. I was wanting to do this in context of what? All right. So after 2002, when the market fell off a cliff, the PE ratio is 17, which is basically historic. Historic's about 15 and a half. All right. Now, remember back here, the bond rates, if we can look at what were the 10-year trade? Does he got my man Daniel? Does he got the 10 years on here? Hold on a second. Let's actually hold on just a second. Let me look at. We're going to look at 1 month. All right. So we're going to look at this year right here, 1949. All right. 1949, the PE ratio was 6.26. All right. So now what we're going to do is let's look at what the, if you believe in love after love. I got to stop singing that song. This is Daniel Kuhlbert's stuff, which I like, a big fan of too. In 1949, 1 month treasuries were paying as T-bills 1%. I thought we had 10 years on here. Hold on a second. I'm not sure that's 10-year rates. 10-year rates. There we go. So 1949, you're getting 4.7 on 10-year bonds. But then watch what happens here. I'm not sure if that's rate. I don't know if that doesn't look like rates to me. Nah, so I'm not sure what that is. It looks like returns. Yeah, I don't know. I have to look at it. But I thought we had the 10-year treasuries on here. No. I don't know. Anyway, so where was I going with that? Oh, so I want to look back at the PE ratios. So if you actually look at the PE ratios, pretty good gauge of potential for future growth, but you got to look in the context too of the current bond rates, if that makes sense. All right, so here we are. I don't know what the rates were. The 1 year was the 1 month was low, was like 0.4%. So I just off the top of my head, I don't know what the 10-year was. It's easy to find. I just don't feel like doing it. All right, so here we are, 1949. All right, here the PE ratio is growing. It's growing from 6 to freaking 22. That's a 3 times the PE expansion. PE expansion. PE contraction right here. And interesting, during these times, the earnings were actually growing with inflation, but the contraction was so much that the contraction of price earnings dwarfed the increase in earnings growth, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. That's a big deal. PE expansion, PE contraction, even though the earnings was still keeping up with inflation. Why did the PEs contract so much? People get nervous. Maybe bond rates are paying higher. Off the top of my head, I can't recall what the bond rates are doing, but that is people saying, I'm taking my gains. I'm going to hold tight. 1980, this is right here at the bottom. This is when Newsweek said the death of equities, 1979. Watch the PE expansion from 1979 to 2000. Look at that. 40 went from freaking 7 to 44. PE contraction, PE expansion, PE contraction, PE expansion, PE contraction. Here we are right now. 21. All right, so the issue is now historically that is quite high. Even a 21 PE is quite high. Historically, that's quite high. Now that would be okay if interest rates were at historical levels, right? But interest rates are now still only a 3.5 on a 10-year treasury, which is well below historical norms. So we don't know what the price of earnings is going to do. I mean, you cannot sit there and say the PE ratios are extraordinarily high at 21 or 22. You just can't when the 10-year bond's only at 3.5. I mean, you could, but that'd be stupid because the historical 10-year bond's about 5. All right, so you always got to look at what's the alternative to investing in equities. And the facts are the PE ratios are high, but they're not nosebleed high, and the 10-year treasury bonds are still low, which leads me to believe that no one knows anything. And on top of that, I'm being rewarded for money in cash with the inverted yield curve. It's insane. So you have higher interest rates than we did not too long ago, but still low relative to historical standards. We got high PEs relative to historical standards, but when it comes to looking at price earnings versus current yields, on the 10-year treasury, it seems reasonable to me that we'd have higher PE ratios. And you have cash that's paying 5%. That's the whole point about that. That's why I use the one, a third, a third, a third. Because I don't know where the market's going. You don't know where the market's going. But I do think at the end of the day, I think the bond market has a little bit more oomph in the short term than stocks. But I 100% could be wrong. And I look at this chart right here. I look at this chart with the yields creeping up. And I say, is that indicative of more Fed selling of bonds, not buying bonds, but selling bonds, increasing the supply of bonds, decreasing the prices, thus increasing the yields, which hurts current bond owners? And I don't know, man. I don't know, because we could have thought the same thing right here. Oops. And then it came back down. So it's anyone's guess. That's why investing is such a personal thing. You don't want to leave someone else to tell you how to invest, man. No. So always remember, the way you look at investing is you say, okay, hey, I got $1 million portfolio. I just want to show you this, guys. This is how you look at investing. Then we'll get you guys out of here in just a second. This is always the way you have to look at it. All right. We're going to go to 2007. And we got 1 million schmackaroonies. We'll go to the end of 2009. And we're going to go right there. All right, so here's how you say your investments. And you got to be honest with yourself. If 2007, you're sitting on $1 million, after we had the massive drop from 2000, 2001, and 2002, you're probably like, all right, I think we've got the bear behind us for the most part. Because from 2003 it was good, but 2005, the market was up like 1%. 2006 and 7 wasn't up much at all. I mean, a little bit, but not even close to historical averages. So you're like, all right, I got $1 million. At the end of March of 2009, your $1 million was worth $430,000. Now, this is February, but literally March 9th was down 57% from October 1st, 2007 to March 9th. Your stocks are down 57%. Could you have sat there as a tyrant is approaching and say, I could handle that? I mean, literally, think about it. You might say, I handled it back in 2007 and 8 and 9. Yeah, because you're still working. You're still putting money in. You still had your job. Could you have handled that now while you're retired? On the other hand, bonds didn't go down. Bonds actually stayed. All right. So you're like, well, yeah, so bonds are good. So you can say, I'll go 50-50. But stocks for the long run, Josh. Stocks for the long run. Well, the long run. The long run is always way in the future. It's a short run we got to contend with. And right here, our portfolio fell. If we went 50-50, 20%, 50% stocks, 50% bonds. So now you lost literally a fifth of your freaking capital. That's tough. That happened. It literally happened as people retired. Max drawdown, 25%. It's not. This isn't. You can't overlook that this happened. You see what I'm saying? Could you have handled that right when you hit retirement? I bet you probably couldn't have. Now you can say, yeah, but Josh, if we held tight from 2007 to, we'll go 2009 till today, we came back. And you did come back. You came back quite nicely. You got 3 million now from, you started with $1 million, you fell to $800,000. I started 2009, excuse me. You started with $1 million, now you're at 3 million. You've tripled your money. That's what a 8% compounded annual growth rate. But that's not taking withdrawals out or anything. It's just from point A to point B. That's it. I don't know, man. I don't think I could have handled that if I was just getting ready to retire. I'll tell you that right now. Now, secondly, I want to go back. I want to show you guys something here too. Actually, 2022. Boink. All right, there we go. Here. Happened in 2022. The bond market got crushed. Look at that. The bond market fell 15%, the worst has ever happened. While stocks fell, what's that, 19, but stocks were down about 20% last year. You see what I'm saying? So that's what you have to contend with. You got to say, could I have handled that? A bond market, which I thought was safe, losing 15% in 1 year. And on top of it, there's no place to hike because stocks fell 20%. Look at this. In 2000, you start with a million schmackaroonies, you're down to 842. That's 16% loss on a middle of the road portfolio. That's how you figure out your risk tolerance. Could I have handled that? I don't know. That's for you to decide. I can't decide that. I couldn't. Yeah, well, that's the issue. If you had stuck with it later, it would have run up big time. If you have stuck with it, that's the issue. And so all these people, they'll all say, as this guy did, if you would have stuck with it, it would have run up later. That's called hindsight. Hindsight's always 20/20. You're sitting there down freaking a half. Well, even with a 50-50, you're down a quarter of your capital. The capital it took you 30, 40 years of labor to build. In 18 months' time, a quarter of that is just wiped out. You're sitting there March 9th of 2009. Obama just got elected. Do people not remember this? Obama. Right, dude, 5 years ago, no one knew who the hell Obama was. The only reason we ever heard of him was because he gave that speech at the DNC in 2004. Selected, not elected, all these guys are. You know, George W. Bush, too. Anyway, the point being is you're sitting there thinking, no one was sat there and said, you know something? No big deal. Who's about ready to retire? I can handle that. Because you didn't know. It's so easy to look in hindsight and say, oh, yeah, if you just stuck in there. Because I remember it was like it's yesterday. I've said this a million times a Sunday. The first time I ever went into bonds, the first time, I was driving on Days of Vala. I was working at USA. I started USA about 8 months previous. Initially, I thought I might be laid off, and I survived that. So I was pretty comfortable with my job, but still kind of nervous. You know what I'm saying? By then, I got through the initial rigmarole of being the new guy in town and whatnot. But so I was pretty comfortable I wasn't getting laid off. But never forget, listen, Hugh Hewitt talking to Brian, guy from First Trust Portfolio, freaking Brian Westbury. And I pulled off to get some gas on Days of Vala. It was in March. It was March 9th of 2009. I'll never forget. Maybe it was March 10th. It was right in that week, March 9th, March 10th. I will never forget that. And Brian was saying they're getting rid of mark to market. This should be a good time where we see some semblance of normalcy come back to the market. And I didn't believe him. I said, man, Brian, I love you, but you are way overly optimistic. And the first time I said, if he's right, that's great. But if he's wrong and they keep going down, I can't throw good money after bad anymore. So I didn't go all bonds. I went about, I didn't have that much money to begin with, but I went probably 30% bonds. The first time I ever did that. I said, I can't take it anymore. You know what I'm saying? I did not have enough liquidity. I had some debt, and I still was somewhat worried about my job. I'll never forget it. Pulled over Days of Vala. Coming up 10, got to get some gas. Pull over to Days of Vala. I'm in South Texas. I remember the windows were down because it's still hot, even though it was in May or March, I should say. I said, man, I don't know. And so that night I went back and I adjusted my 401k. Said, I hear Brian Westbury, but I don't know, man. It seems wishful thinking. He turned out to be right, and I was wrong. But, man, I'll never forget that. Remember where you were. Remember where you were during those times. And say to yourself, I had income coming in. Like this guy says, if you have a job, suck it up. Maybe. But what if that job is fleeting? How come no one ever thinks about that? What if that job, you're one of the Google guys got laid off? FedEx laid off a bunch of people. What if that's you? Always remember where you were in 2009. And just think about it comparatively 15 years later, you're 15 years older. You saw the massive run-up we've had since then. Huge federal deficits. Huge. 6% of GDP on average, which is twice what it's been historically. 6% federal deficits. Remember, the deficits are just adding to the debt we already had. And if you remember Jesse Helms' debt clock and all that in the 1980s, we had massive amounts of debt back then. It hasn't gone down, folks. It's not going down. I don't know what that means. No one does. Can we keep people say you can't keep kicking the can down the road? We don't know. But I'm just telling you, put yourself back where you were. In 2009, Obama just got elected, and big time. And not only did he get elected, they owned, they have like 65 senators, or so, maybe that's 60. I can't remember, but they had a huge majorities in the House and the Senate. Huge. Barney Frank, of all people, was a prominent guy in the Senate banking, the House. Charlie Rangel was the head of the House Ways and Means. The most powerful guy in Congress was Charlie Rangel, the tax fraud guy, allegedly. He was the most powerful guy. Obama, Nancy Pelosi, San Francisco, New York City, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Chicago. Remember that. And you're going to sit there and tell me, we knew it was all going to come back. No, I don't buy it for 2 seconds flat. I know. Do you not remember? Exactly. The first 2 years, Obama could do whatever he wanted to do. Whatever he wanted to do. The Republicans couldn't filibuster. There is nothing. Nothing. Yeah. But we didn't know. Whole lot easier when my man has a job that's secure. If you're about to retire, you're not the same person as someone who's in their 40s with a job that's secure and can suck it up. I could not stress this enough. So what's the optimal portfolio? Going back to what Sean asked. What did Sean say? Well, by using Craig's spreadsheets to help clients better understand where they should invest during retirement? No, because where you should invest is not the same where I should invest. But I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, I'd be sitting there saying, I need to reevaluate if I can take a hit a la 2009. It wasn't just 2009. 2000, 2001, and 2. The S&P 500 fell 9, 11, and 22% respectively. Bonds did great then. Dividend stocks did great then. So we all said, okay. Now we know the way to avoid a recession or a black market or a bear market is we go to bonds and dividend stocks. Dividend stocks got destroyed in 2008. Destroyed because a lot of dividend stocks are banks. Preferred stocks got destroyed. We got destroyed in 2008. Government bonds did well. Okay, so way to avoid a bear market, forget the dividend stocks. We'll go to government bonds. 2022, government bonds got destroyed. Dividend stocks, growth stocks, they were down to just a run-of-the-mill bear market, but there was no reprieve. There was no reprieve. Your goose was cooked. You know what didn't get cooked? CDs, cash. And now you're being rewarded for cash and CDs. But the opportunity cost, that's why you have the barbell, for heaven's sake. The barbell. So basically the barbell, when it comes to this, well, because Dwayne, they don't know the mark to market. But now we're similar mark to market with Silicon Valley Bank, and that's the issue here. It's the same thing that's here. Mark to market accounting is bad, but you can't blame the accounting procedures for that though, because mark to market accounting says, look, we got to base your capital stock essentially on some kind of value. We can't just base it on what from some crack smoking CEO says. From Silicon Valley Bank, we have to have some kind of semblance of modern finance to say what's the value of these holdings that you have. And don't forget, Barney Frank is who saved capitalism. How dare you say that, Barney Frank? Yep. Tutti Frutti Barney. I like Barney Frank. I always liked him. I mean, I wouldn't have voted for him, but he reminded me of Jim Traficant. Remember Jim Traficant from Ohio? He was a Democrat who was a normal guy. I mean, normal guy in terms of you could drink a beer with him and he'd shoot the crap with you and probably talk crap on Nancy Pelosi. I guarantee Barney Frank would do the same. You know what I'm saying? I guarantee it. These weren't freaking somewhat social justice warriors. I mean, Barney Frank was gay, but let's not pretend gays did have discrimination, my friends. I mean, there was pretty heavy discrimination against gay people. I'm not a big fan of that stuff. I certainly don't find men attractive, but let's not pretend that gays, where it is today, it wasn't like that even 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Where gays are just everywhere now. And, and this Pride Month next month is going to be lit because pride, that's not a good, you don't want to be proud. But the gays were not looked kindly on, even in liberal places like the state of Maine, where I'm from. My mom worked at pretty much a gay bakery as a bookkeeper. They all had to hide underground. All did in Portland, Maine, because gays were getting bashed. Literally, this happened all the time. So Barney Frank was openly gay for many years before the cool kids were all gay. Now, there's obviously scumbags. Like there's another guy in Massachusetts, Jerry. I can't remember his name. And Barney Frank probably should be, if not jailed, investigated. If you know what I'm talking about, but there's another guy in Massachusetts named Jerry something who should be in jail without question for doing things that Catholic priests were doing, if you know what I'm talking about. But because he's in Congress, he got a free reign. You know what I'm saying? And that was bad. So anyway, that's why I like Barney Frank, because he was always open about that, which, I have respect for, man, 100%. I like people who stand up against the currents. I do. I find them to be interesting people. Again, I'd never vote for the guy, but he was the one who said we got to get rid of mark-to-market account. Josh loves a reverse mortgage. If she hadn't taken a reverse mortgage, which got sold to the unscrupulous lender, she would have been fine. What the hell is that? Josh loves a reverse mortgage. She hadn't taken a reverse mortgage, got sold to the unscrupulous. You don't know what you're talking about, Johnny Blaze. All right, go back to the rock from where you came. You have no clue what you're talking about, but be that as it may. Some people, I want to be passive aggressive against Josh. He's been a financial planner since 1998, but I know more than him because I read Bogleheads, and they all say the reverse mortgages are scams. All right, so anyway, the barbell strategy, historically for me, was VTI, and I'm going to get out of here, and Ginnie Mae, which is government bonds. All right, that's historically my barbell. I like Ginnie Mae fund. Ginnie Mae got, I think it was down 10% last year, which is by far and away the worst it's ever had. But now the barbell strategy, given that I actually like the nature of where the interest rates are, you got explicitly cash, and that's CDs cash, and then you got a split kind of between VTI and some kind of government bond funds. Ginnie Mae, I don't care. So basically, it's still a barbell. And what I used to do when I like Wellesley Fund or Wellington Fund, I do that with Wellington Fund for cash, bonds, stocks. And I'm doing the same kind of thing except without Wellington, because Wellington can go pound sand because Walter Morgan would be turning over in his grave seeing how woke they are. So I like VTI and bonds. That is my barbell right there, if that makes sense. You could call it 3 bucket like my man Fritz does up there at the Retirement Manifesto. But I'm a big fan of all that, because if things go south, it's easy to say, you just suck it up. Snowflake, suck it up. Not when you're about to retire, man. Not when you're about to retire. Look, I've been guiding people on this for a long, long time. The last thing you want is to step into retirement and see your portfolio down 25%. That's a fact, Jack. All right, what else, guys? Anything else going on here? Let's see. Bases are out of whack if you don't hold M2M balance sheets, or I don't know what that means. Yes. Right, Tom Murphy, look at that. Recovering from his beer drinking Guinness last night. Tom Murphy is out there, Celtics. What do they say? I'm going to park the car and watch the Celtics tonight. Is he drinking beers? Drinking beers in Boston, in Harvard Yard. He's going to Fenway Park. Tom Murphy saying if you won the game, stop playing. I 100% agree. 100%. That doesn't mean you have to stop playing forever. I'm just telling you, man. It's like, all right, once I get 2 years under my belt in retirement, I get a gauge of my expenses. So last thing we'll leave you with: expenses drives everything in retirement. You have no clue what your expenses are going to be in retirement because you've never retired before. Let's find out what expenses are before we start engaging in massive amounts of reconstruction of a portfolio. That's a fact. So maybe just for simplicity of the first couple of years, keep it simple and safe, right? A nice 3-bucket barbell, like I just showed you. Figure out what your expense is going to be to retirement. You might be surprised to say, okay, I got a pretty good idea what I need. I think I can handle now if the market does fall 25%. Okay. Oh, body. Now, secondly, I personally don't think the government bond market is going to get hammered like it had before. The reason is because we've never seen a market fall like that before, ever. The government bond market. I just can't see that happening again. But I could be wrong. I mean, I don't know. I just keep referring back to that. I mean, could the short-term rates stay where they are and the long-term rates go above it? That'd be a significant hit to bonds. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. You diversify, spread the risk. Don't take on more risk than you can handle right when you're about to retire. That doesn't make sense. All right, guys. God bless. Appreciate y'all. Don't forget Craig Israelson's thing. If you sign up for his a spreadsheet, which pretty much crushes, man. That thing's freaking. That's an ass-kicking thing. There's no other way around. I've seen a lot of good spreadsheets. Trust me. I get lots of engineers. I love you, engineers. The one thing I don't love is, can you look at my spreadsheet? No, every spreadsheet is its own language. I'm not trying to figure out other people's languages. I don't want to do that. Trust me, every spreadsheet is its own language. I can't figure that out. I don't want your spreadsheets. Actually, I love engineers. I enjoy talking to them because engineers, they know that you can't run a society on solar panels and wind. Engineers know that inherently. Because engineers need to be based in the real world, where these idiots and college professors, they're not based in the real world. They're based in some kind of la-la land that says, if we just increase solar, we can make it work. It's freaking idiotic. Just real quick, I got to share with this story in Maine. I love Maine. And Maine is, what are you guys doing up there, man? Maine. Rising rates blamed for extraordinary number of Maine utility disconnection notices. Close to 94,000 Maine households have fallen behind on electric bill payments and it can see disconnection notices this spring. Remember, Maine has 1 million people, my friends. 1 million people. So we'll just say for simplicity, 400 households. 94,000 households are facing disconnection because of rising rates. What could cause rising rates? They'll blame it on Putin. Blame it on Putin instead of their idiot governor, Janet Shills. And this is the issue, man. Electricity, we need electricity to conduct business. If electricity prices go up, and so no one like this guy right here, he's going to blame reverse mortgages. No one's going to say crap about freaking electricity prices. They're going to say reverse mortgages because one lady did not answer if she was still the primary residence. So the whole industry as a whole is corrupted. This guy right here, because he's not a bright guy. This guy, they don't have the ability to think. They don't. I don't know why they're almost like they. But even if I was a money manager, I still want people to take reverse mortgages. I mean, I keep more money to manage and get paid on. I don't get it, man. It's weird. It's not bright people here. But what I'm saying is, so we're gonna right there. That's state of Maine. That's from Bangor Daily News. We're going to say then that the whole electric industry, you better not buy electricity because they could put you out. They could disconnect you. Better not buy electricity because you could get disconnected. The whole thing's freaking stupid, man. Dumb. But we know that there's a reason for the high cost of electricity because we're going away from the cheap sources of electricity. Uranium is evil, Josh, is it? I like when Penelope writes. So when I was a kid, people thought being gay was a result of boys being too overly mothered. Now they say born that way. Yeah, I think they gotta be born that way, Penelope. Or they're molested. I don't know. But I can't imagine, like, all right, real quick. Even when before puberty, I was always attracted to girls. You know what I'm saying? Always was. Even when I was a kid, they looked good to me, if that makes sense. Always was. Always liked the ladies, always liked girls. Not just crushes, but just, physically attracted. I didn't go through puberty yet, so I didn't, you don't talk about it. There's no way that happened because I was molested or something like that. Or maybe it did. Maybe my mom hasn't told me something that I need to know. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, how did that attraction come from, being, 6-year-old kid or something. You see what I'm saying? I think you're born that way. Now, I think a lot of people are being gay because it's a cool kid stuff now. The trans stuff is what the cool kids are doing. I was actually walking through Costco the other day. It's actually kind of funny. Both these kind of heavy ladies, you know what I'm saying, is actually kind of funny. One was walking this way, one was walking that way, both probably 25, heavy set ladies. They both had purple hair, and they both just kind of walked by each other, watching. They just kind of, they didn't acknowledge each other or anything. They're literally an avatar is what it was. They're literally playing a role for attention. I guarantee they probably identify themselves as they, them, or something like that. It's funny though. It's like, you guys are literally the avatar of what's happening now. I want attention. I'll do whatever I can to have attention. And I want to be a victim as well. You know what I'm saying? And you can just see it. It's just funny because I thought they might be, hey, we're, like Charlotte was in Australia. Maddie had a Georgia Tech shirt on, and this black guy said, Georgia Tech, you guys live in Atlanta? She goes, yeah, we live in Fayetteville in Georgia. You see what I'm saying? Because there's there's a black guy. He's actually an African black guy. I love Africans. I'm freaking Africans crush. Bring on the Africans, man, 100%. Anyway, so they had this affinity right there, even though they were an older black guy, his wife, they were probably 60, something like that, traveled all over the world, but we had an affinity with the Georgia Tech shirt, living in Georgia. And these two girls did not have the affinity. It's almost like they're competing for clicks in terms of, who can be looked at as the most rebellious. It's just a trend thing. So I think a lot of the gays are probably just joining on what the cool kids are doing, but I still think you're born that way for a lot of them too. I can't. And I've talked to a lady. She's like, she hired me a long time ago. I'm sure she doesn't like me anymore. But she emailed me. She goes, hey, before I hire you, I just want you to know that I'm gay. And I said, okay. She goes, I just want you to, so that, you're comfortable dealing with me because I'm a Christian. I said, look, dude, I don't care. You do whatever I literally, until men keep it in their pants, I don't give two craps what gay people do. You know what I'm saying? As long as men are out there cheating on their wives, do not tell me, oh my goodness, homosexuality is evil when men are out there cheating on their wives. I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. If you actually look in the Bible, as we have done, and you say, look, it's saying homosexuality is a sin. Huh? What else are they saying is a sin in the Bible? Huh? Wonder what else could be. All kinds of stuff they're saying is a sin. So before you start going after the gays, why don't you start going after your own freaking pants? Look down. Is your pants unbuttoned? You whipping out? Freaking, you know what I'm talking about. You freaking out there. Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff in the Bible. So why we just focus on the homosexuality? It drives me up the wall. Yeah, because I'm not gay, so it's easier to blame those guys for the crimes they're committing against the Bible. Yeah. As you're freaking out there doing all kinds of stuff, fancy pants, drives me up the wall. Yeah. So easy to freaking throw shade on that guy when you're freaking Saudi, you're dirty as can be. That pisses me off. Anyway, the point being is, I do think there's some issues that making a trend out of something that's not necessarily good, because gays can't produce kids. They can't. We need children. But in of itself, I think it's just the way people are born by and large. And if people are born that way, what do? You say, oh, you can't get married? I mean, look, I don't like the propaganda on it, but I don't care. I don't know. You're so liberal. It just doesn't bother me. Like, whatever. I just don't like I don't like everything being shoved down my throat with 57 flavors and stuff. I said, dude, I thought you guys just want to live the way you want to live. And now, Christian couples can't adopt an organ. It's like how the things have changed so much. It used to be gays can adopt, and now literally 20 years later, Christian couples can adopt an organ unless they teach the 57 flavors. The whole thing's nuts. And it's just all political, and politics sucks. And people think, oh, the right versus left. Nah, dude. It's all one big scam, all one big group of scumbags controlling the show, from the Rockefellers to the Rothschilds. Oh, yeah, by the way, the Rockefellers, memory serves, they're Baptist, pretty devout. Rothschilds were Jewish. So before we start saying, look at the Jews, no, don't even go down that road, because the Rockefellers were not Jews, and they control things here in the States as much as Rothschilds control in Europe. That's a fact. I hate that crap too. Well, blame these guys. No, a cabal runs things, and they're well beyond, a certain Abrahamic religion. They're well beyond who they sleep with at night. They're freaking much more evil than that. So, all right, I'm out of here. God bless. We'll see you guys.